It's early morning at the airport. You're calm. Boarding pass in your hand. Your pet is quiet inside the carrier. You didn't rush today. You bought an airline-approved carrier. You went to the vet. You packed the food carefully. As far as you know, you did everything right. You reach the security checkpoint. Your bag goes on the belt. Then a TSA officer looks up and says, "Sir, step aside." Not because your pet is barking, not because it's dangerous. Your pet is calm. But right here at the security belt, everything stops. You're confused. You're thinking, what went wrong? And this is where most pet owners get it wrong. The problem usually isn't the pet. It's not even the carrier. And most of the time, it's not the airline either. The real problem is a TSA rule that nobody clearly explains. A rule people only learn when they're already standing at the checkpoint, holding their pet with other passengers watching. That's exactly why I'm making this video. By the end of this guide, you will clearly understand what TSA actually controls, what airlines control, and the one common mistake that causes delays, stress, and missed flights for pet owners. I'm not sharing guesses or social media rumors. Everything here is based on official TSA and government rules, explained simply the way one traveler would explain it to another. If you travel with pets or plan to in the future, this is the kind of information you want before you reach the airport, so take a second to subscribe. This channel focuses on real travel rules, real mistakes, and real guidance, so you don't have to learn the hard way at the security line. Now, before we go any further, there's one confusion we need to clear up first. And this is the biggest mistake people make when flying with pets, understanding the difference between TSA rules and airline rules. 1. TSA versus airline rules, the confusion nobody explains. Many pet owners get confused because they treat TSA and airlines as the same thing, but they are very different. When problems happen at the airport, people often blame the airline for denying cabin access or causing delays. Others blame TSA for being strict or difficult. The reality is, neither is completely wrong. TSA's job is security. They decide how your pet goes through the checkpoint, what can be screened, and how the process works. Airlines, on the other hand, control transportation. They decide if your pet can fly in the cabin, go in cargo, or fly at all. They set rules for pet size, weight, carrier dimensions, and sometimes breed restrictions. Understanding this one line, TSA handles security, airlines handle transport, saves you from most of the common mistakes and stress at the airport. Once this difference clicks, everything else in pet travel makes much more sense. 2. What really happens at the TSA checkpoint? At the TSA checkpoint, things often get surprising for first-time pet travelers. Your pet does not stay inside the carrier while it goes through security. The carrier goes onto the conveyor belt and through the X-ray machine, just like your luggage. You are asked to hold your pet while walking through the scanner. The noise, movement, and activity around can make even calm pets nervous. This is where leash or harness rules matter. Your pet must be secured. If it slips free, security stops immediately. Most people don't realize there's a private screening option for anxious or difficult pets. You can request it if needed, and it helps reduce stress for both you and your pet. This checkpoint moment is short but intense, and being prepared makes the difference between a smooth process and a stressful one you'll remember long after the flight. 3. The things TSA doesn't warn you about. Even if you follow all the rules perfectly, there are a few things that TSA doesn't make obvious. One common problem is accidents at the checkpoint. Pets can get nervous or fidgety, and sometimes things spill, like food, water, or even toys, creating delays and stress. Metal bowls or other items inside the carrier can trigger additional screening. Even small mistakes, like a loose leash or a slightly open carrier flap, can cause a pat-down or extra checks, slowing down the process. These situations aren't listed on any rule sheet. The rules exist on paper, but the actual experience at security is different. Every pet and every owner reacts differently, and TSA officers have to adapt to each case. Knowing this ahead of time gives you an insider perspective. You can anticipate problems, stay calm, and make the process smoother for both you and your pet. Understanding these hidden issues can save a lot of stress and make your travel experience much easier. 4. Documents Mythbuster. One of the most common misunderstandings about flying with pets is about documents. Many owners think you need a health certificate, vaccination papers, or a letter from the vet just to pass TSA. In reality, TSA does not require any of these documents for domestic flights. The confusion happens because airlines often have their own requirements. Airlines may ask for a health certificate or proof of vaccination, especially for cargo or international travel. This is a critical point to understand. TSA documents are not mandatory, but airlines can request them. If you only follow TSA rules and ignore airline requirements, you risk your pet being denied boarding. Knowing this distinction ahead of time allows you to prepare properly, carry the right paperwork, and avoid last-minute stress. This is the kind of information that people often share because it's both surprising and extremely useful. A real save/share-worthy tip for anyone traveling with pets. 5. Pet items and carry-on rules. When traveling with pets, it's not just about the carrier. What you bring inside the cabin or in carry-on bags matters a lot. Let's go through the most common items and how TSA treats them. Food is the first thing. Dry food is generally fine and usually passes through security without problems. Wet food, however, can be tricky. Liquid-like items are subject to TSA rules, so always pack them in small, sealable containers. Water and ice packs are also allowed in moderation, but TSA may check them separately. Medications are always allowed, but it's helpful to keep them in clearly labeled containers so officers can see what they are. Pee pads are allowed too, but make sure they're clean and don't leak, otherwise you'll end up with a mess during screening. Small toys are usually fine, but metal parts like clips or bells can trigger extra screening. Think of it this way: allowed, not allowed, depends. Planning ahead and organizing your carry-on items not only saves time at security, it also keeps your pet calm and comfortable. Knowing these small details gives your travel a practical edge and reduces unnecessary stress. 6. Airline reality check. Even if TSA approves your pet at security, that doesn't automatically mean your flight will go smoothly. Many problems happen at the airline level. First, there's cabin versus cargo. Not all pets are allowed in the cabin, and some breeds or sizes must fly in cargo. Size and weight restrictions are another big factor. Airlines set strict limits for carriers and pets, and if you exceed them, boarding can be denied. Breed restrictions exist too, especially for short-nosed breeds like bulldogs or pugs because of breathing risks in cargo. Weather rules can also affect your pet. Too hot or too cold, and the airline may refuse transport. Here's the most important line to remember. TSA approval does not mean airline approval. Even if security is smooth, airline rules can still stop you. Understanding this distinction prevents last-minute disasters and ensures your pet's safety and comfort throughout the journey. 7. Most common pet travel mistakes. Even experienced pet owners sometimes make mistakes that cause unnecessary stress at the airport. One of the most common is using the wrong carrier. Too small, too big, or not airline approved. Any of these can delay your trip or make your pet uncomfortable. Another frequent issue is arriving late at the airport. Security lines, pet screening, and check-in can take longer than expected. If you cut it too close, you might miss your flight even if everything else is perfect. Many people believe in sedation myths, thinking that sedating their pet will make the flight easier. This is dangerous. Sedatives can affect a pet's breathing, especially in a confined space, and airlines strongly advise against it. Finally, missing airline forms or documentation is a surprisingly common problem. Even if TSA doesn't require certain documents, airlines might, and without them, boarding can be denied. The tone here is not judgmental, it's protective. Knowing these mistakes ahead of time helps you prevent stress, ensures your pet's safety, and keeps your travel smooth. Understanding these pitfalls gives both an emotional and educational advantage. 8. Pro Traveler Secrets. Now let's talk about what experienced pet flyers do differently. Early flights are a key strategy. Pets are usually calmer in the morning and airports are less crowded. Calm training is another tip. Getting your pet used to the carrier and practicing short walks inside it makes them more comfortable on the day of travel. The blanket trick works wonders. Place a familiar blanket or towel inside the carrier. The scent comforts your pet and reduces anxiety during screening and the flight. Finally, seat choice matters. Window seats or quieter areas of the cabin can help keep your pet calm. Small adjustments like these make a huge difference. Following these tips restores confidence and ensures a smooth, low-stress experience for both pet and owner. Remember the traveler at the start of our story? He didn't lose his flight. He learned the rules and prepared properly, and that made all the difference. The key takeaway is simple. Rules aren't scary when you actually understand them. Knowing TSA and airline requirements, being prepared with the right carrier and items, and planning ahead makes pet travel manageable and even enjoyable. If you travel with pets, comment below, dog or cat. Don't forget to like and save this video so you can refer to it before your next trip. And stay tuned for the next video where we'll go over airline-approved pet carriers that actually pass security and make flights stress-free. 9. The emotional reality most people ignore. There's one factor that almost never gets mentioned in official rules or airline policies, yet it plays a major role in how smoothly pet travel goes. Your emotional state. Pets are extremely sensitive to changes in tone, posture, and energy. If you're rushing, scanning the room nervously, or anticipating a problem, your pet senses that tension instantly. Airports are already filled with unfamiliar sights, sounds, and smells, which can overwhelm even well-trained animals. When you stay calm, move with purpose, and speak in a steady voice, your pet is far more likely to remain settled during security screening. This isn't just emotional advice, it's rooted in behavioral science. A calm owner creates a calm pet, and that calmness often prevents small issues from turning into full delays at the TSA checkpoint. 10. What to do when something goes wrong. No matter how prepared you are, there may still be moments when things don't go exactly as planned. A TSA officer might request additional screening. An airline agent may want to recheck your carrier dimensions. Your pet could suddenly become restless or anxious in the middle of the process. When this happens, your response matters more than the situation itself. Panicking or arguing slows everything down. Calmly asking questions, listening carefully, and responding respectfully keeps the process moving forward. You always have the right to request a private screening if your pet is nervous, and you can politely ask for a supervisor if something seems unclear. Experienced travelers understand this simple truth. Staying calm doesn't just reduce stress, it actually resolves problems faster. 11. The final reality check before you fly. Traveling with a pet is not just about boarding a plane, it's about navigating an entire system. TSA handles security, airlines handle transportation, and the airport environment adds its own layer of unpredictability. Most problems happen when travelers prepare for only one part of the journey and ignore the rest. When you understand how all these pieces fit together, the experience becomes predictable. And predictable situations aren't frightening, they're manageable. This guide isn't meant to overwhelm you with rules, it's meant to give you clarity and control. When you know what's coming, you stop reacting in the moment and start moving through the airport with confidence. 12. Timing matters more than people think. One detail that often gets underestimated when flying with pets is timing. Not just your arrival time at the airport, but how much buffer you give yourself at every step. Pet screening takes longer than standard screening, even when everything goes smoothly. Add in long security lines, shift changes, or a busy travel day, and those extra minutes matter. Arriving early isn't about waiting around, it's about removing pressure. When you're not watching the clock, you make better decisions, your pet stays calmer, and small delays don't turn into major problems. Time is one of the most powerful tools you have when traveling with a pet. 13. Why airport staff reactions can vary. Many travelers are surprised when different TSA officers or airline agents handle similar situations differently. This doesn't mean the rules changed, it means discretion plays a role. TSA officers must adapt to each animal, each traveler, and each environment in real time. The same applies to airline staff, who are balancing safety, policy, and operational limits. Understanding this helps you avoid frustration. If something feels inconsistent, stay calm and ask for clarification instead of assuming the worst. Travelers who approach these interactions with patience almost always have a smoother outcome than those who respond emotionally. 14. Preparing for the return flight. One mistake many pet owners make is preparing only for the outbound flight and forgetting the return trip. Your pet may behave differently after days of travel, unfamiliar environments, or schedule changes. Stress can accumulate. That's why it's important to reset before flying back. Check your carrier again. Replace pee pads. Repack food and supplies neatly. Give your pet time to rest before heading to the airport. Treat the return flight as a fresh journey, not a repeat of the first one. This mindset prevents last-minute surprises and keeps both you and your pet comfortable through the entire trip.